Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. And really appreciate you guys showing up this morning. We're going to do another Between the Headlines show. And I'll be glad to get caught up because it's been a while since we've done a Between the Headlines show, isn't it? We've been focusing kind of on these decodes, which are good, but we do a little bit of both. Sometimes we got to check back in and see what kind of plans that they're making to try to ruin our lives, and so that we could be prepared and try to figure out how to navigate around the programming, right? Now, I wanted to start off today's show with a follow-up on yesterday's show about the man who fell to Earth. Now, many of you will remember that I told you that CERN had copper running all through it. Remember that? Well, apparently there was someone in the comment section that did not believe that, so I had to look that up just to be sure. I know we had researched it before, but I had to look it back up, and here we have the LHC superconducting cable made out of copper. Now, in the series, The Man Who Fell to Earth, there was something very peculiar that they depicted, didn't they? It was the Faraday cage. And Faraday was the name of the man who fell to Earth. And I realized something, that this Faraday cage that he built looked a lot like CERN, didn't it? It had this weird anomaly in the middle of it that looked just like the depiction of CERN with the dual magnets. I'll show you a clip of that from yesterday's show. If you missed yesterday's show, yesterday was a part 2. We did a part 1 of the first episodes, and part 2 was like the 3rd or 4th episode. I can't remember which one it was. But we were talking about how CERN had copper running all through it, and that the copper cables that surround us in our reality is a Faraday prison. A Faraday prison of surveillance and communications control. And I believe it actually goes a step further, because CERN is the actual brain behind the copper matrix. And that somehow CERN is collecting all of the energy of the hive, which is us, and harnessing that power to try to open the bottomless pit, to open a portal. Now think about this for a second. This makes sense. This isn't fanciful, pontification. This is very real, because around us, inside the telephone lines, inside the Jive Gee Whiz base stations and cable networks, is pure copper cable. Where does all that copper connect to? Well, ultimately, it's part of a World Wide Web that connects directly to CERN, doesn't it? So it makes sense that they would have the ability to harness all of this power. And we already talked about copper having these supernatural properties in which it can interact with things around it supernaturally. Now they say that there are reasons for this. They call it current, some kind of current that copper carries that allows it to have these supernatural reactions to elements around it, specifically neodymium magnets, as well as lead. But at the end of the day, this is their guess as to why these things are happening. So if it has those kinds of supernatural properties with those elements, then who's to say that there isn't some kind of element to this or aspect to this that interacts with the human body? We already know that we are negatively affected by these waves and signals coming through these devices, don't we? We're told that it can cause cancer if you have these things too close to your face or your head. And so now we begin to see into a different aspect of this, that there possibly is some kind of way that this is literally vampirizing your soul, sucking it into this dimension, and then having this being harnessed and pointed at CERN or collected there. Now, these are just thoughts, of course, but look at this. The copper coils, there are actually 7,600 kilometers of copper. As you can see here, this is right from CERN's website. And these coils running round and round the Large Hadron Collider. And look at how they're packed into this honeycomb matrix. Wow. And look at how this looks exactly like what's being depicted in The Man Who Fell to Earth as he walks through a portal into his spaceship to come to Earth. Watch. There it is right there. The portal he walks through. Let's play that back for those of you that weren't watching. That basically is depicting CERN. He walks through with his family, or away from his family, and into the spaceship. Now there's another part in this decode, and I don't have the sound on here, but they actually show this device that he made, this Faraday cage. And you'll see here that it looks like CERN. It's spinning in the middle. It's bipolar. Let's back that up. You can see it here. Let's zoom this in for you guys. See that? So, what are they depicting here? Well, they're depicting our prison matrix. This thing, this bipolar thing that looks just like this. Let's put it back here. Which is a cross-section of CERN, isn't it? So these two match, and surrounding it is the cage. This is the network of copper that surrounds all of us. Again, in telephone lines, base stations, communications cables. This is what they're depicting here. This is the prison hive matrix. Exactly as we said it is. And this is why I don't shy away from naysayers. I try to hit them head on. Some people believe that maybe I give them too much time, but we learn from the people that are naysayers, right? And then it makes us better because we can look into these things and confirm the findings instead of running away from them or shutting people down for having a different opinion. So thanks to the person who did not believe there was copper inside of CERN, because you now opened and unlocked a whole nother aspect to all of this. This harnessing of power from humanity to open the bottomless pit. So, let's get started on some of these other Between the Headlines today. Make sure you guys are with me, and we'll check in. I'm using my quiet voice today because my son, this is about the time he goes to sleep. So I don't want to keep him awake. He needs to get his rest. But thanks to everybody that's showing up today. And let's get into some of these other headlines. Now, we all know there's a baby food shortage. Well, a couple days ago, one of you told me, Casey, you need to go check this out. The Gerber baby has died. This is New York Times. This woman was the original Gerber baby. As you can see here, a very iconic image there. Or at least we're told this is the woman. I guess she does kind of look like her, right? And she just died. I think she was 95 years old. Her name was Ann Turner Cook. Now, we've been talking about this baby food shortage, and we believed that it was code for a baby shortage, not just baby food shortage. And this is actually happening in America right now. We heard the Supreme Court leak some statement about the shortage of children in America. Remember that? And then, of course, now birth rates in America are at an all-time low. They're actually low across the world. But at this current pace, America would be extinct because people aren't having babies anymore. Now, I want you to look at how this article starts out. This is very cringy. Now, this is basically a eulogy type of article about the woman who was the Gerber baby who just died. Let's see when she died. Doesn't say exactly, but there could be some coding in terms of the actual date that she passed away. But look at how this article starts out. For years, the suspects were legion. What? That's a weird choice of words, isn't it? Like demons, like legion. And if you go on down through this article, they basically say that nobody knew the gender of the child in the picture for many years, which is another weird aspect to this story. So the child depicted here, essentially what they're saying here is genderless. So this is bringing us into now repeated messaging of the agenda that we've seen them hint at over and over again. This is where they want to take society. No genders, no sexes, no nothing. Just all one homogeneous pot. Now, that's the update on the Gerber baby. Now, I'm going to pin all of these articles, of course, in the pinned comment. Looks like she was born on November 20th, 1926. And her true identity was not revealed until 1955. They talk about everything else in here. So again, we'll link that comment in the pin section. Now, I wanted to get into next this weird phenomenon going on with children and hepatitis. Now, this is troubling. Now, some of these children did not get smack-the-nated, but others did. So there's some kind of outbreak happening here. So here's an update on that. And look at this. They choose the child Livia, which of course is the first three letters of liver. Makes you wonder if some of this is real. But it says here it was 3 days before Christmas. Let's look at the picture. Oh, they don't show a picture of her. 3 days before Christmas, Elizabeth Witters was perched in her upstairs bathroom, fastening red and green bows in the hair of her 4-year-old daughter, Livia. But as Livia stood in the morning light, her mother noticed the whites of her eyes had turned yellow. So they looked, and basically she was jaundice. This is out of Mason, Ohio. They took her to the emergency room, and she had acute hepatitis, inflammation of the liver. They then had to remove her liver, and she got a liver transplant. Over the past 8 months, hundreds of other families have been caught in similar whirlwinds as their otherwise healthy children developed hepatitis. You guys, hundreds. Some 650 cases have been reported in 33 countries. There's the number 33. Cases have stumped experts who are investigating a variety of potential causes. They're saying it could be adenovirus. And look, it's linked to flu. Interesting. Now, nowhere in here do they talk about, of course, VidCo-19 or the SMAC-scene. But you have to ask yourself, what's changed? What factor, what variable has changed in our society worldwide that could account for this? And it's a pretty short list. I mean, unless you want to look at mask behavior or quarantine behavior, those are other, national and international factors or variables that have changed during this time period that could account for this. But when you talk about immune systems and all of this, the only common factor that makes sense to me is the obvious one, which they are not admitting to at this point. And we're going to get into some other aspects and updates about what's happening with the Smack the Nation as we get through some of these other headlines. Now let's switch gears here, because Elon Musk shows just how out of touch he is with comments like this about people who work from home. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not yet, but here's where you begin to see the agenda just beneath the surface. And you begin to see the control that the beast has over these people who seem to be on our side. This is why you don't choose men as your leaders. This is why you don't look to them for answers. Elon Musk to me is no different than Thump. And I know some people believe he's doing a lot of good things. And the whole Twitter thing, these are just smoke and mirrors to keep you engaged, keep you locked into thinking these people are looking out for you when they're actually not. Now, why would he say this? That's what we're going to break down next. What did he say? He said working from home during the spamdemic tricked people into thinking they don't need to work hard. I mean, dude, how out of touch can you be? You're a multi-trillionaire. I don't know how many trillions you have. You make electric cars, which pretty much suck. I mean, you got to stop so many times to fill these things up. There's an open-ended cost in terms of how much these things are going to cost. They could dial this up as high as they want. They can say it's, oh, we're going to charge you $100 per kilowatt hour. There's no market established yet in terms of the amount of energy and how much that energy is going to cost. The grid can't handle it. It's debacle after debacle. He's sending cars into space. I mean, what is going on with this? I don't even know how people think that these kinds of people can help us. And then he makes comments like this, that working from home is making people think that they don't need to work hard. I mean, who does this guy think he is? A guy that never has to worry about, where to set his thermostat at his home to make sure he's warm in the winter. Guy that never has to worry about gas prices. I mean, unless he wants his electric cars to be bought, obviously. He's probably making a killing right now because the gas prices are so high. People are probably going, oh, maybe I'll go electric. You guys, we need to wake up. These people are manipulating us. And they're the ones making all the money as they build our electric prison. And the electric cars are part of that electric prison. So yeah, they'll throw us a few bones here and there, make us think that they're on our side. But in the end, we're going to be sitting in our prisons, our electric prisons. So what is this about? Well, he's saying these things to influence people back into the brick and mortar economy, back to the daily commute, which will benefit who? Benefit them. Back to the taxpayer-funded buildings. You see, they don't want people working from home. They let us do it for a while because they were testing their little lockdown procedures to make sure that people would comply if they needed us to. And now they want everyone back to work. And think about this. These people go on and on about the environment, right? You know how much less pollution there is in the air because people worked from home? Now, I'm not saying that pollution caused global warming like they believe. But if they want to put their money where their mouth is, they'd have everybody working from home, wouldn't they? Can you imagine entire cities, Chicago, for instance, everybody working from home? You would have like half the pollution, wouldn't you? But these people don't even believe their own words. They do what they want when they want, and we're the ones who suffer and have to fit into their rules. So, what's happening? Well, obviously, vehicle sales have slowed, haven't they? And this is definitely affecting Elon Musk. I'm sure if we looked at a graph right now and saw electric car purchases, they're probably super down right now. Less people needing cars because they're working from home. And so now you're starting to read between the headlines. You're starting to see what's really going on here when statements like this come out, trying to insult people into buying an electric vehicle, trying to insult us all to go back to work and plug into our little grid so we can get back and forth to work and make him more billions and trillions. No, thank you. No, thank you. Let's read this and see exactly what he's talking about. Elon Musk is not a fan of remote work. I can see why that's the case. In the early hours of Wednesday, Musk commented on a tweet which appeared to be an email from him to Tesla executive staff saying anyone who wishes to do remote work must be in the office for a minimum of 40 hours per week or depart Tesla. Wow. So gave his own people an ultimatum. Go back to work or get fired. Unbelievable. And this is where the paint starts to come off with these people. He previously expressed distaste for American workers trying to avoid going back to work at all in a May interview with the Financial Times. Now, understand that this whole phenomenon of work from home has shifted the economy. Okay? Now let me explain that to you about how that's happened. I'm going to go back in the chat here so I can kind of see what you guys are up to. How has the economy shifted because of the work from home? Well, what's happened is, if you're working from home and you live in New York City, then what are you going to do? You're not going to continue to pay $3,000 a month in rent, right? Why pay $3,000 a month in rent, work from home, and then when you can go 3 hours over into Connecticut, which is where I used to live, and pay half that in your rent? Well, that's exactly what happened. I saw the area I was living in, Connecticut, double in size. Literally, the whole riverfront was, redone with these big, beautiful, townhomes, multi-level townhomes, new bars, new everything. And so what ended up happening is that this drove the rents sky high. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, my rent started going up for a place that, wasn't even that great of a place to live in terms of quality. And this was all being driven by hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people spilling out of the larger, higher rent cities and into the areas surrounding and driving up the rents. Now, the same phenomenon, believe it or not, happened in the place that I moved to. It was almost impossible to find rental because there is a tech sector of Northeast Arkansas. And I guess it's pretty big. And so all those people spilled out into the surrounding communities and were renting up all the places at a quarter of the price. You guys, rents here used to be like 3 or 4 years ago, like $300, $400, $500 a month. It was unbelievable how cheap the rents were. Now they've gone up because of this migration. So that's what's going on. So what's going to happen now when all this gets reversed? We already heard BtwnHeadlines say that he wanted everyone to go back to work, making similar comments. It's so funny how Elon Musk says he doesn't like the Democrats anymore, but then he parrots what BtwnHeadlines said about shaming people for not going back to work and saying that they're lazy. They're all on the same side, you guys. They're all on the same side. And so now you see the agenda. So what's going to happen when these people are forced back to work from the stay-at-home jobs? Well, the economy is going to shift back again. And these outlying places are going to empty back out, aren't they? And that'll be good news for those of you that rent in those places, because your rent will not continue to go up. I don't think rents ever go down again, but they won't go back up. And so that will be good. But this is what they're playing, this shell game, aren't they? They're playing a shell game. Now, let's continue to see what's going on with this. So, Musk, who railed against lockdown mandates and defied shelter-in-place orders to send workers back to his California Tesla factory in May, might have the wrong idea about remote work. Insider spoke to 3 economists, all of whom said remote work during the spamdemic did not damage worker productivity. Now, I believe there are certain jobs you can do from home and others you can't. Obviously, there's certain hands-on jobs that have to occur in the field, or in the actual place. But there are a lot of things that can't. So it should be a mix, is what I'm saying. Nobody should be forced to do either one or the other. So let's keep going. I got some more stories for you guys. Now this one's funny. We're going to read between the headlines about Osteen's little streaker incident during the church service. Now, I'm not a fan of Osteen, as many of you guys know. This guy's a marriage wrecker because he puts a lot of pressure on men to perform and give their wife lots of money and make them have a rich lifestyle, because this is what Joel Osteen believes that you deserve as a Christian, that you should all be rich. And if you just believe you can be rich, then you can be rich. And this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. This is so anti-biblical, it's not even funny. Rich people don't get to heaven. It's like going through the eye of a needle, a camel trying to fit through. So, what is going on with Osteen? Well, some streakers crashed his church, basically in protest of the Supreme Court and its grumblings about reversing Roe v. Wade. Let's read this. 3 activists stripped down to their underwear in protest to interrupt a Sunday service at Pastor Joel Osteen's Texas megachurch. After Osteen had finished leading a prayer and congregants began to sit down, the woman stood up and began chanting, "My body, my expletive choice." 2 of the women removed their dresses, with one shouting, "Overturn Roe, hell no." The video footage of the protest quickly went viral. Oh yeah, just because, people walk in with, I don't know what the video footage was. I shouldn't assume that this was taken with cameras. Could have been on someone's phone. Went viral on Twitter. Of course it went viral. The activists, a trio from Texas Rise Up for the Rights, were wearing white sports bras with green handprints on them to symbolize the color representing the pro-choice movement. Security promptly escorted the 3 women out of the church as many congregants began to cheer at their dismissal. Women said they opted to protest in Osteen's megachurch, which draws 50,000 people regularly, arguing that anti-AB protesters should show up in their safe space, doctors' offices and clinics, to make them feel uncomfortable. So, now, what are my thoughts on this? Well, I think this was a stunt. I think this was a stunt by Osteen himself to herd the Christians back into the church so they can oppose the left. It's always about the right-left paradigm, isn't it? You need opposition. You need to feel threatened in order to join a group to counter the threat, right? This is the foundation of American politics. This is how they get you to join their group. This is how they get you to vote. They make you feel like your belief system is under threat and you need to do something to counter that. Obviously, there are going to be many more thousands of people that show up to his next service after this, right? To show their support and to counter these crazy women that showed up. What is that on his stage? Oh, brother. What do we have here? Is that a globe? That looks like the globe in front of Thump's Hotel, as well as the gardens out in, what is it called? New York, Queens. It was in Men in Black. Is that on his state? Whoa. Didn't mean to show you guys that. Sorry about that. She's covering up the globe there. Guess it's YouTube friendly. She's got a wedgie. Might want to fix that. So there's the globe. I was trying to focus on there. So yeah, so this, now you're starting to see the agenda. Okay, we've seen this globe before, haven't we? Let's look it up. There's one here. Let's do this decode diligence here. This is in front of his hotel. This is actually right next to Central Park in New York. There's also, and this was fashioned after the Men in Black globe from Queens. Let's look that up. Globe. Get the name of the, here it is here. Now, and this goes, oh, this was Corona Park, right? You're starting to see the connections here. Corona Park, Queens, the Unisphere, the Perisphere. And this was obviously in Men in Black. This is all about fallen angels, hybridization, aliens coming to Earth, World's Fair, in which Thump's family business appeared on a billboard. Let's look that up for you guys. That said RX on it, which is prescription. Here's the billboard from a World's Fair going back from the family of Trump. So this has been something that has been planned from the beginning. Here you see the twin pines, and this will remind you of the billboard in Back to the Future in which Biff appears. Pine there, a pine there, twin pines. This was in Queens. Here you see the needle and the bolus. The needle administers the venom. The bolus contains the venom. The home of tomorrow. Now we decoded all this. I'm just pretty much showing you a recap of decodes that we've already done. Live in the home of tomorrow. This is from Back to the Future, the billboard, the Lion Estates, and this is the real billboard in real life from the Trump family bloodline, the home of tomorrow. So you know I'm not making all this up. Now when I show people this stuff, they're shocked. They almost don't want to believe it, but it's absolutely true. As I just showed you, these aren't accidents. All of this stuff is very, very real. So, Corona Park has been in the works for a very, very long time. Now, one of the first World Fair that occurred in Corona Park in Queens was all about preparation of the world to receive the Apollyon smack scene worldwide. That was kind of the beginning of all this. And now here we are with another worldwide smack scene that occurred at warp speed, aren't we? And Thump's already washed his hands of it because it's already everything's already been set in motion. It's already occurred. And now he just handed it off to the other clown, which is Bo Jiven, and the rest is history. Unbelievable synchronicities there. Let's get back into this. What else do we have here? Where are we at? Oh, we're back to Osteen here. Let's finish this up. So there's the globe and Osteen. He's part of the agenda as well. And we've got the streakers with the green handprints, which is really the serpent, probably. Most likely. We don't need to see our wedgie anymore. Sorry, you guys. Shield your eyes from the drama. Now, let's get back into some of this other stuff. Let's swing back toward the smack scene. We know that the smack scene manufacturers finally had to concede the heart risks after the database was flooded with complaints. They couldn't run away from it anymore, could they? Social media, people seeing connections between the smack scene and myocarditis. We had local news reporting on many deaths that they said happened right after some of these people got this. National news tried to ignore it, but they finally had to admit that there was a connection. Let's get an update on what they're talking about here. This is June 7th. The co-creators of the Myrna technology. Now I say that because you can't say some of these words. It's not because I'm illiterate that I use these different words. It's because of YouTube. They're looking into the causes of the low risk of heart inflammation, especially in younger males. Dr. Carrico and this other doctor researching all this stuff. And what does it say? Okay, why won't they get to the point? They work tirelessly to get Myrna to the point it is, primed ready for use at the start of the spam-demic. Back then, we never imagined that the technology would be used to stop a spam-demic. Which really, has it really? I mean, has it? See, look at all this fluff they put in here. They don't want people getting to the point. To that end, some concerns have arisen from real-world data showing a causal link between the smack scene and heart inflammation. Myocarditis, pericarditis. They'll be publishing their new findings soon. Wow. Myocarditis occurs at 30 times higher frequency. So yes, it's true that the smack seen as a rare adverse event of myocarditis. Wow. So they're starting to admit it, but it's too late for a lot of people, for most people, all the people that would give in. Now they're disclosing this stuff. Don't you think they should have figured this out? before. Obviously, they don't think it's that important. Well, another smack scene has entered the market. Novavax. But there are myocarditis risks and concerns about this as well. According to this article, now who in their right mind has so much fear that they would risk something like this just for a little peace of mind? I have no idea. But this is the world we live in now. Unbelievable. It says right here, some experts have raised concern that the smack scene may lead to myocarditis. This is a brand new one that's coming onto the market. Why would you even let that come onto the market? So they found 4 cases out of 30,000 in the trials. Those are just the reported cases. So let's get into some of these last headlines here. Now, for those of you that live in Salt Lake City, Utah, or in Utah, this is definitely a story you're going to want to listen to, because something is happening in Utah. The Great Salt Lake is drying up. They're calling it an environmental nuclear bomb. Now, I'm sure this has happened many times before over the last thousands of years. Drying up in dry periods and then, filling back up in wetter periods of history. We know that the climate does this. Probably done this a dozen times since the beginning of time. But of course, they're going to blame global warming, aren't they? Let's see what this is all about. If the Great Salt Lake, which has already shrunk by 2/3, continues to dry up, here's what's in store. The lake's flies and brine-ship would die off. Scientists warn it could start as soon as this summer, threatening the 10 million migratory birds that stop at the lake annually to feed on the tiny creatures, as if they can't just go somewhere else. Ski conditions at the resorts above Salt Lake City, a vital source of revenue, would deteriorate. The lucrative extraction of magnesium and other minerals from the lake could stop. Most alarming, the air surrounding Salt Lake would occasionally turn poisonous. The lake beds contain high levels of arsenic, and when the wind kicks up, it can go into the lungs of people nearby. 3/4 of Utah's population is in Salt Lake. We have this potential environmental nuclear bomb that's going to go off if we don't take some pretty dramatic action. As climate change, they always have to put that in here, continues to cause record-breaking drought. There are no easy solutions. So they're basically trying to prompt you to take drastic solutions, put the most fear they can into you until you start allowing them to make really tough choices which directly affect your freedom. When we get to the end of it, that's what this is really about. Now, it's going to be really funny when we hit another wet year, wet season, and this lake fills back up. And then they're going to try to bury articles like this probably. But that's what's going on with the Great Salt Lake, or what they're saying is going on. Now, here's our last story. The Chupacabra. This is weird. Look at this. Someone caught a coyote on film walking upright. Texas ponders mystery creature seen near zoo. Look at this. Let's zoom in on this. This is like something it's probably like a demon running around. I don't know what that is. It doesn't even look real to me. It looks like some kind of cutout. But this thing was cruising around outside of a zoo. Can you imagine at night cruising around and seeing something like this through your headlights? Let's read this article. Something strange was recently seen lurking outside a Texas zoo. And while the city has several theories, its identification is still a mystery. Security cameras at the Amarillo Zoo captured the mysterious creature in the dark in early morning hours of Saturday, May 21st. A still photo from the recording shows the life form outside the zoo's perimeter fence at 1:25 a.m. that Saturday. Was it a person with a strange hat who likes to walk at night? A large coyote on its hind legs, a chupacabra, It is a mystery for Amarillo to help solve. As the visitor's identity remains unknown, the Texas Panhandle City has declared it an unidentified Amarillo object, a UAO. This is news now, you guys. But city officials hope someone may be able to offer a better explanation. We just want to let the Amarillo community have some fun with this. It is definitely a strange and interesting image. Wow, I like to see the video footage on this. It's the thing walking around. Now, there's a whole lore surrounding this chupacabra creature. There are videos and images of this thing. It looks like a human walking backwards or something. And this is where a lot of these, images from the horror films come from, or images that people believe to have seen way out in the middle of deserts and things. I don't know. It almost looks like, who knows? That could be 2 or 3 coyotes jumping in a circle or something, fighting. Who knows? Anyway, let's go back into the chat. Those are the headlines showing the updates. We can do a little Q&A this morning as we begin to wind down the show. All right. The chupacabra. Dog man, somebody said. He's moonwalking. Here come the jokes. Moonwalking. Well, what was it? Michael Jackson did Thriller. He turned into a werewolf, a moonwalking werewolf, so you're probably not too far off base there. Shapeshifter. Well, now we know that demons can possess animals, so who knows, right? Probably could be a demon-possessed shape-shifting werewolf. All right. It's a crisis actor, says Ginger. That's good. Guy lives in Salt Lake. Hey, guy, so what's going on over there? Is there a big concern that the lake's drying up? Are you guys seeing lots of problems, or is this just a fluff news story? Thanks for letting us know, Guy. Yes, Jesus Christ loves us so much. Thriller was Adreno. Yes, it was. Smart sidewalks installed for the disabled. Looks like a game furry from Sounds Oculus. Uh-oh. Something evil lurks in the dark. All right. Humanoid shapeshifter. A lot of shapeshifter comments. They say that we don't want to be Dry Lake City, says Guy. I drove through Salt Lake City one time. It was scary. It was actually on my way to Connecticut. When I first moved to Connecticut, I drove my truck from California. I took the northern route in the middle of winter. It was like January, and nobody warned me that wasn't smart. Went through Salt Lake City. I stayed the night there in like a Best Western or something. And I decided to get an early start. And as you know, as you're heading east from Salt Lake City, you come up out of this huge, steep mountain. It's like you're driving through a rock. And it was frozen solid. And in front of me were the ice road truckers. And there was a flurry of snowstorm and in the dark. And here I am in my Nissan Xterra going up this mountain, following the truckers closely behind as I can so I don't die, basically. For those of you that live there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, what am I thinking? What am I doing? Anyway, then I went through Nebraska and I saw the lowest gas prices I had ever seen in my life. It was pretty close to $1 a gallon. Maybe it was $2 a gallon. And I was like, ooh, I want to live out here. And then I was like, oh, no thanks. Because it was 0 degrees on my temperature gauge as I was driving through, I think it was Nebraska. Anyway, never take the northern route if you're driving from west to east during the winter. Always go south. That's the lesson I learned. Anyway, I made the trip in 5 days. All right. Someone's seen my fender on the driveway. It's black. It's a black fender. It's kind of small. It's only 31 inches or something like that. I measured it because I need to get a new fender for my trailer. So Nebraska exits are 1 hour apart. It's a miracle I didn't run out of gas on that trip because I was waiting until probably 30 minutes after the gas light came on just to make less stops. I-40, yep. Life in the Shack knows what I'm talking about. So, yeah. All right, what else is going on? Yeah, it's probably gone. I'm just hoping it didn't hurt anybody because the thing was pretty heavy. It's probably 10 or 15 pound fender. Yeah, so I loaded up all my stuff in pretty much one of those utility trailers, a 6x10 utility trailer. And there we put all Max and my stuff, a washer and a dryer and some other things, mattresses and box springs, and it all fit. It was a tight squeeze, but it all fit. I strapped it all down and almost lost some of it along the way. Every time we stopped for gas, something was bulging out, trying to pop out the side. Now, my friend was telling me, he's like, you need to put sides on that. He goes, your life's going to be a lot easier. It was Brad. Brad was telling me that. And I was like, oh, I don't need sides. I'll just strap everything down. I'm the strap master. And lo and behold, he was right. You definitely want to put sides on a trailer. You just get plywood and stick it on there. It's pretty easy. Screw it together. And it makes your life a whole lot easier. So that'll be next time we have to move. Yes, Danae, packing is a skill. And it's funny, it takes 3 times as long to pack a trailer than it does to unload it. I think we unloaded it in like 15 minutes. But packing it was definitely a lot harder. Boru has a 14-foot single axle trailer to sell, but no title. You're welcome to. Oh, you're in Connecticut. Yeah, I just left there, Boru. I should have talked to you 2 weeks ago. I had to drive up to New York State to get my trailer. I got a good deal on it, but the fender fell off. So, all right, what else is going on, you guys? Sorry, we're off track here. Okay. Plywood is now $50 to $100 a sheet. Are you serious? This is going to cost me $300 to put a... No, I'm not doing that. I'll just wait till the prices come back down. That's just nuts. That is nuts. Yes, fake inflation. They're doing it on purpose. We are just getting it. Now, I think this is all a setup to push all of us on the right back into the polling stations to vote for Thump when he is reelected. So, you know, they do this, you guys. They play around with the economy to keep you engaged. Okay? This is very real. So this is why the gas prices are so high and inflation is so high, so that people will go, you know what? We need Thump back. He'll save us. So, Guy says the Great Salt Lake is way down. Dalmac says the prices are never coming down. I agree. I don't think they'll ever come down. They don't want people building. They don't want people building, especially outside of the grid in unincorporated areas. So I spent like $1,000 in gas from going from Connecticut to here. It almost broke me. I was like, seriously? My son and I were stopping every 2 hours to fill up. Now, obviously, I was pulling a trailer. I was probably getting 10 miles to the gallon in my little Nissan Xterra. But I couldn't believe how much I paid in gas. And the average gas price, I have to put premium in the Nissan because it's got a supercharger on it. So I think the average I was paying for premium was about $5.80 a gallon. But then as I started approaching this area, it dropped to about like $5.30 a gallon, but all of it was over $5 a gallon. And so, yeah, it was painful. It was painful. But the money I'm going to save in rent is right there, pays for itself. Okay. So, yeah, everything's going up, you guys. I don't know what we're going to do. It's going to go even higher during the summer. So, Spread the Messenger says 470 in East Texas. That's amazing. That's great. Is that for premium? Yeah, people are already saying they want Thump back. They're feeling the pain. And I believe it's intentional. It has to be intentional. I mean, does he really think he's going to get reelected? Does Biden really think he can get reelected with the way that the country is right now with all this inflation? It's almost like a joke now. And then he's got his correspondent out there running interference. But it's like comedy. It's not even funny anymore. Because she's just lying straight to our face. Oh, the economy's better than it's ever been. Seriously? Maybe for you rich people. Not for us. So it's like a joke. It's like they're doing it on purpose now. Oh, more supply chain issues. More inflation. More higher gas prices. Oh, it's going to get worse in the summer. And it's just going to swing the pendulum back. You're going to have all these people getting behind Thump and voting for him, and the cycle is just going to continue. Nothing ever gets fixed. Nothing's ever permanent. So some of you are paying under $4 a gallon in Missouri. Perhaps you're saying, okay, that's not far from me. Why is it more over here where I'm at? I'm not that far from you. It's like $5.30 over here. $7 in LA. I can't even believe that. They were even talking about having to change the gas pumps because to go over $10 a gallon because there's no second digit. So that's interesting. They go in and change all the gas pumps so that they can charge people more. So, wow. You guys have to raise your prices. Yeah, that's what happened. It all rolls downhill, right? Gas prices start going up, and the people that use gas for their business have to charge more. So, yeah. All right, you guys. Well, we'll be back on here tomorrow. I'm actually watching the Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's not a lot to report on that. There is a new episode. I'll see what I can find in there. And if nothing else, we'll do more headlines tomorrow. It's tomorrow, Friday already? But I've got a lot of stuff in the works here. I've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've got Stranger Things. Westworld's coming up. So we're going to be decoding all of that. As well as the Man That Fell to Earth. There are several more episodes left for that as well. So that's pretty much what's on the agenda over the next coming weeks and months. I love each and every one of you guys. Thanks for coming and hanging out and getting all caught up on this stuff. Our dose of sanity for the day, right? Because doesn't it feel like sometimes that we're just going crazy with everything that's going on? And unless you step back and figure out why all this is happening, what's going on, and the only solution to it, which of course is belief in Jesus Christ for eternity, then I don't know how we would get through another day, right? Anyway, I love you guys. Take care and be safe.